So here's the plan for today. We all should do this practice. So we're going to do a little more zero product property practice, which I'll get to this in a second. What's cool about this is we'll use the method that we learned last week. So use factoring. But then I'm going to push you forward today. I'm going to encourage you to use your computers and use Desmos. First, we're gonna, oops, that's not how you spell Desmos, D-E-S-M-O-S. We're gonna do that to, first to check our answers. And then you're gonna build some understanding on that, I hope, here. And then we can also use it to eventually get our answers. So instead of saying using Desmos, what we're actually gonna use here is use a graph. And Desmos will graph the equation for you automatically. During the period, you also need to check your grades. In math, check math grade. And especially this last summative I entered as 6 scores, which might be a little bit confusing, but if you go to page 36, we have an inventory. If you're an extended class, that is a note sheet up here that I'll label with a post-it note. If you're not an extended, you should already have page 36. If you need a page 36, come up and grab it if you don't have it. So you're going to check grades and reflect on the test chart how you did. Remember the scores. If you aced your quiz, it would say 4 and then 9. And then if your class went past that, it was 5, 4, 4, 8. Many of us struggled over here. And this is difference of squares. And that's worksheet, well, it's worksheet 10.7. There's going to be only two terms there, so it's going to be like 4x squared, it's going to be minus, and then a 9. I made a second worksheet 10.7 that I titled incorrectly. I shouldn't have called it 10.7. And those are like multi-step problems. That corresponds more to the last 2 problems that are worth 8 points, and numbers 5 through 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12. So 5 through 12 is really where you want to focus on that assignment. That's where you have to get a GCF and then factor even further. So factor the rest. So that's the plan for today. That probably took 5 minutes. I think I can fit everything on here. So that's what we're doing. If extended, we're kind of still working over there, but so for you're going to see those main scores, and then we'll get further beyond here in a little bit. So here we go. Let's see how this works. Oh, by the way, if you checked Google Classroom, I have resources. I compiled all the resources for both. There's actually 2 summatives for chapter 10. One was 3 weeks ago-ish, and one was like last week. So one's like chapter 10 part 1. The other one's chapter 10 part 2. Part 2 is the 6 scores. Part 1 is out of 25 points. I posted all of the resources for these 2 summatives, all the different learning targets that we had, notes and assignment on Google Classroom. Please check for that. It's probably posted after this video or below it. So here we go. Give me 1 second here. Let me just move this stuff out of here. Whatever. Alright, so if you check your notes from page 38, We want to set it equal to 0 and then factor this. So we're going to get x plus 3 times x plus 5. I factored that quickly. I didn't really show my diamond, but check it, that is totally correct. So we're going to just use factoring for now. So I've set it equal to 0, I've factored it, now I set each factor part equal to 0, so x plus 3 equals 0. Here's my other factor part, x plus 5 equals 0. If I can figure out what makes this thing become 0, 0 times anything, I don't even care what this becomes, a million, a billion, 0 times a billion equals 0. That's a solution then. What makes this first part become 0? Negative 3 makes that become 0. So I can get x by itself, or you can, a lot of times you can just kind of see what the solution is. You can guess and check what makes that become 0. It's usually going to, if there's not a number in front of the x and not a coefficient of x, it's just going to be the opposite of this. There's not a number in front of the x here, so it's going to be negative 5. Now that trick only works when there's not a number in front of the x. But on this, you're going to see that that happens a lot. So x plus 5 equals 0. So subtract 5, hey, that's a positive 5. So my solution's actually a negative 5. Remember how that works? Like, careful on number 2 with your factoring. You're looking for numbers that multiply to 48 and that add to negative 16. That means you're going to have two negatives. A negative times a negative is a positive, and then when you add two negatives together, you get a bigger negative, or a larger negative and a larger debt. So 12 and 4, yeah, negative 12, negative 4. So this in factored form is x minus 12, x minus 4. By the way, folks, in our factoring process, notice there was not a coefficient of the x squared term. That means that there's 3 terms and we get to do it the easy method, which is just take our answers to our diamond and put them after our factored form x's. Oh, we get an announcement. Set it equal to 0. Ha ha, I didn't. I did it. Ooh, I guess I'll double check. There we go. There's our 2 solutions. So let's check this. Let's focus on this first one, right? Number 1. So I guess that's right. You actually could take negative 5 and plug it in for x. You got to use parentheses around it. In both these spots, you could go in your calculator, if it knows order of operations, negative 5 squared plus 8 times negative 5 plus 15. That should equal 0.